Hello, everyone. Welcome to Osquery office hours on this fairly nice-looking spring day here in Boston. So perhaps nice where everyone else is.
Looks more like Boston here.
Sunny here too.
Excellent. Sunny everywhere. Charbel, you don't look sunny, but I think it's late at night for you.
It was really sunny. Almost
Oh,
110 Fahrenheit sunny.
It's even
Ouch.
sunny in Vancouver.
Well, wonderful. Guess I don't think we have any major announcements since the last meeting. I don't think I've heard of any 470 problems, so that's good.
There is an issue with event optimization and event expiration, apparently. Teddy was trying to track this down, however, we didn't have much success so far. It is hard to reproduce.
There might also be a second thing about enrollment. I mean, I just recently saw that the original reporter that was reporting that he had issues with Osquery failing to enroll multiple times because there were happening multiple attempts, and that he had Osquery crashing. It seems is saying that it's still crashing, although I'm not sure.
Yeah,
If
I just
if it
reopened that
means-
issue.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it is really crashing or it is just failing and rolling. But yeah,
To that here
there.
in the chat.
I know previously there was something that Teddy fixed where it was actually crashing with like a null pointer dereference, I think, or something like that. Yeah, not sure where it's at right now.
Yeah, originally it was crashing because it was using the TLS log forwarder before either that or because it was using before it was properly initialized. So there were some locks missing around the code. Yeah.
I believe you're talking about issue 6887.
Yes.
On a somewhat related note, I just put up a PR yesterday.
I saw that.
It adds a mutex around the node key retrieval, which will hopefully fix, or it fixed, looks like it should fix, and it fixed in my testing the issue of Osquery enrolling more than once when the enrollment goes invalid, which was causing lots of issues with bleed, I'll say at least, and I imagine people had other issues as well. So I put up a PR for that, and I suppose it's possible that whatever the user is experiencing now is related or might be fixed by that, but I wouldn't hold out too much hope for that. But just figured I'd throw it out there while we're talking about that.
You know, if I read this thing right, it seems like they don't have a TLS server, and Osquery is configured to talk to a TLS server. So I'm not sure. Like, this seems like a design-ish thing. Like, what should happen? I kind of think Osquery should just be like, this doesn't work. I'll try again and keep failing. Like, I don't think Osquery should keep going. Like, fundamentally, if you're running with a TLS server, then I don't think it's meaningful to run standalone.
Yeah, I think that after a certain number of failed attempts, Osquery would exit non-zero. Are you, Seth, are you saying that they shared logs that indicated that it is doing that?
No, I'm just reading I haven't read their logs yet, right? They said, in this case, we use Osquery with the fleet server. We took the fleet server offline, rebooted the host running Osquery. On startup, if Osquery fails to enroll, we expect it to continue running without enrollment. I feel like I disagree with that. Like, it should possibly keep trying and then fail. Like, I don't think there's a fallback to standalone mode.
Yeah, if it's not enrolled, I agree. That makes sense. That then if it's not enrolled, it has no idea what it's supposed to be doing. And then presumably whatever service is running, the service or launch D or system D should be restarting it, but logging that the process exited non-zero, right?
Yeah, I mean,
It seems like appropriate behavior.
it looks like Osquery just keeps retry. I'll have to actually read this code. It's not clear to me that there's a bug, or if there's a bug, it might be just like some weird stuff in the way we do back off and exit. Like, I think we should never crash. That's obvious, but like, I don't think we should run standalone mode either. So there may be a bit of a, like, maybe we just need to catch an exit condition somehow and document or set expectations. I'll try and reply in this ticket and understand it a little better.
On that note, we always on the enrollment note, we had a report of kind of similar issues. I will open either today or tomorrow an issue with better description, but basically what they are reporting and what I have verified is that when Osquery fails to enroll, it should try. So the number of attempts should be set through the TLS enroll max attempts flag, which by default is 3. But if you have Osquery fail the TLS enrollment, you will see that it will actually try for 6 times. Because initially there are 2 places where enrollment is done, and actually potentially there are multiple places. But I will take these in steps. So the first problem is that during the initialization of the log forwarder, TLS log forwarder, it is already trying to enroll there. Like, it's the construction of the class instance TLS log forwarder. And so there it is already doing 2 tries. Then you have the TLS enroll plugin, which is called to enroll Osquery, and it does other 3 attempts, basically as soon as the first 3 attempts are failed. And at least on Osquery, on Linux, I see Osquery exit after it always fails. Though it has been reported that on macOS it doesn't, apparently, and continuously it stays continuously open. And I still have to better test this. And in general, the suggestion actually was on the context of keep retrying. So keep actually Osquery open and keep retrying instead of having it close and then have maybe a service system like systemd or launchd restart it to try again. That was the suggestion. But yeah, there's a bug, and additionally, this is basically caused because we do the enrollment inside the function named getNodeKey, which is generically used to get the node key in many other places, which can cause possibly multiple enrollment tries when one would really expect one single set of attempts as specified by the TLS enroll attempts. So I think we should also look into that and maybe refactor out the logic of enrollment from that function, separate the 2 things.
I wonder if that relates to, Zach said he put up a thing, he wrapped this in a mutex, right? So this sounds exactly related to Zach's mutex patch.
Yes. Yeah, so that last thing that you said, Stefano, I put the mutex around that bit of code. If you have the time to do some refactoring that would, solve this same problem, but by refactoring the whole thing so it makes more sense, then I'm totally on board with that. I think we should do it. I didn't have that time, so my solution was just to add the mutex. But yeah, I mean, I'm on board for sure. I'm happy to review PR, discuss strategy if you want to do that.
I also think that what you fix is actually still a slightly different issue, because yeah, there are a bit of. I mean, it's all around the fact and the problem that there is this single function that does both things, so it has been used incorrectly. So, but yeah, it seems that you were seeing like a single request having actually two requests inside it instead of one. If I got it right.
Well, no, I think it's that I think that like you were just describing there are multiple places in the code that call get node key at the same time. And so they both find the node key empty and they both initiate an enrollment. And that means that the server issues, well, server doesn't necessarily have to, but in a normal case, the server issues a new node key for each enrollment. And so, you know, in the case of Fleet, what we were seeing is that like the threads would overwrite the node key that each one got. And so then it would just end up in like a sort of a loop of invalid node keys.
I think Collide, we've seen that as well. And my memory is that Collide has some deduplication logic that sort of only applies very early on in enrollment around like, oh, here's a couple of requests from what looks like the same piece of hardware. You all just get the same node key.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and that's potentially a good solution and something worth
Let's fix
considering.
Osquery, but like, you know, you want you want a solution. Because the instance ID should be the same for both of these, right? So you can dedupe on instance ID. And then, you know, if you're like, these two instance IDs are the same and they came in close proximity. There's no Osquery bug.
Yeah, so that's an option. And one thing that I have also been seeing that confounds the whole situation is that I've occasionally seen, or I've seen evidence from folks that perhaps the RocksDB database is getting cleared or something, and so the instance identifier is changing on an individual host. I haven't been able to get, you know, further logs to verify that that's what's happening, but it seems to be that the same host is continuing to enroll with new instance identifiers.
So I saw something really weird recently on some of our customer deployments, which that sounds like, and mostly they all just kind of sort themselves out, and I don't have to talk too much about it, but I'll mention it. So the way Launcher does its updates, right, is it brings in a new Osquery binary, and then it basically just restarts. And it's pretty straightforward. And for Windows, it exits and then lets the service manager restart it. And the last time I ran an update, we got a bunch of duplicate-looking Windows hosts, which were particularly interesting in that the new host, I can't quite remember. One host had like real data, and the other host got -1s for all of the WMI data, which means which -1 is the Osquery Sentinel value for couldn't get WMI data. So like all of the WMI calls failed, dumped -1s into all the, you know, hardware serial number values, and ended up as like a dupe. And, you know, we just sort of cleaned it up server side because it doesn't matter that much. But it's kind of weird. And I'm not really sure why you'd end up with two, and like why one would look like a new enrollment, and that RocksDB only allows one connection at a time might have been a thing. I wonder if that's something you've seen, Zach. Like, what happens if Osquery can't open the RocksDB handle? Does it just kind of like run an attempt to go boldly forward?
I've only ever seen Osquery exiting if it can't open RocksDB.
Yeah, so I don't really know how that happened last time it happened, and I don't know, it all smells similar, and I'm mostly not thinking about it.
And slightly tangential to the first enrollment issue, there is also another one connected to it, which is that the during the enrollment, the worker cannot exit if someone give like Control-C or seek-in, seek-term, because this signal arrives to the parent. Normally, we have a function in the worker to check if the parent is still alive, so that or not, so that the worker exits. But this is not called during enrollment. So, for instance, the problem is that if a user have the previous issue with having too many enrollment retries and wants to increase the attempt, and maybe he can also increase the interval between these attempts, then it risks that if it is noticing that it is taking too much time, it cannot stop this procedure by normal means, at least. Like if it's a service, especially if you're trying to stop the service, it will try to stop the parent, and the worker will keep running. So yeah, there is also another thing to fix there.
Stefano, are you going to be working on fixing those things?
I think so.
Or at least filing
I
them.
have to check. Yeah,
Okay.
I have to check my timetable, but
Yeah. Okay.
Do we-
Well, thanks
do we
for
even-
thanks for filling us in.
Is there a timeout on request key? Like an HTTP timeout in there? Okay, cool. It's fine.
I assume there is, but
We don't have to answer it now. I'm sorry I asked. Not important.
yeah, there might be a second. And yeah, also about intervals. Currently, we cannot control intervals, so maybe also adding a flag to the side interval between attempts. Well, because currently it's fixed.
Looks like it's 1 second per
Quadratic.
connection attempt or something.
Yeah,
I-
exactly.
I don't want to expose another configuration variable for the sleep delay. This just doesn't. Are people actually going to change that? Is that actually important to anyone? Or like,
Well, I think if Osquery is having issues with enrollment and you don't want it to keep pounding, especially if, I mean, I know we are not maybe positive on having Osquery stay open and keep retrying, but if Osquery stays open and keeps retrying, you might also want to try to change the interval.
I mean, I feel like an exponential
this
back
is-
off is good enough. Like it just, I feel like adding more knobs here is just confusing, right? Someone's going to be like, well, in my environment, I really need it to like pause for 4 seconds because like if it can't do it, the servers all have to reboot or something, right? You're just like, well, set your connection attempts higher and like let it fail twice. You'll be at 4 seconds. So it just feels like it's a lot of complexity for very small value. I don't know. That's my fewer knobs drum. Okay, sounds like there's a bunch of tiny little things around enrollment. Next up, 480 milestone rescheduling. We normally aim for a cadence of every 2 months. Last release, we cut on March 15th. So we could do May 1st, we could do June 1st.
You know, if these enrollment bugs are bothering people and we can fix them before May 1st, I'd be cool with the May 1st and get us on a first of the month cadence, but otherwise maybe May 15th, just to keep it 2 months.
I mean, I mostly like scheduling them for the first of the month, just because that's what we always have done, even if we don't actually make the deadline.
Did we at one point have that going? I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, we always set them to the first of the month, I thought.
Oh, okay. Works for me.
I'm a little bit leery of May 1st just because I'm like, yeah, we're not going to manage a release in 2 weeks, so why pretend?
Yeah, May 1st could be the day that we make a pre-release.
Make pre-release whenever you want. CI makes them every build.
Oh, well, I guess it depends on what goals the milestone has. Right now, it's just the catch-all set that we keep punting forward.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd be inclined to say June. Let's like target June 1st. I guess the other big question here is if we're going to change the code signing, which probably ties into endpoint security, and whether we bump the version number.
The version number to 4.8.
I guess for the code signing, it depends on how much time can Charville allocate to the final integration.
So I think there's a couple of things. One of them is the endpoint security framework, and one of them is just changing the code signing keys to the Osquery foundations. I think those are the only two things, and I guess there's sort of like a little bit of a third one there around whether Alessandro's packaging code has merged or not. Because if we cut over to the Osquery signing keys, there will not be a 4.8.0.
I'm a little confused. Do we have to cut over the signing keys for the next release, or?
When we changed the signing keys from being Facebook to Osquery, we were planning on bumping to version 5.
Okay.
Primarily just to make it clear to external parties, and I think the Mac admins community seems like they'd like it if we did that, things like that. No particular...
Okay.
Nothing's fundamental there. It's just like a signaling.
It does follow the semantic versioning tradition of a breaking change. For some people, changing code signing is breaking.
Yeah, stuff like that. So I think the general expectation is that we'll bump to version 5.0 as soon as we cut over the code signing keys. So endpoint security will never show up in the 4.0 series.
I think that's a clean release, yeah. So for that to happen, I have a new PR up. Ping Teddy for his help on reviewing. That's one thing, and the other thing is I'll need your help with the code signing stuff. Maybe we can do like a pair coding kind of thing and get the ball rolling on that.
So I feel like this is sort of weirdly spread between Alessandro, you, and me.
Yeah.
Right? Alessandro's got stuff to move the packaging and code signing, and I forget if that's merged.
It has yet to be merged. There's a small fix to make. Mike was helping with that, but otherwise, the only major part missing is the actual signing code inside the Osquery code sign repository.
So we can merge then, right? We don't need the code signing to merge.
There's that small fix to make, but yeah, otherwise we can merge.
Okay, I'm going to propose that we get that merged, and that then some set of Alessandro, Charvel, and I attempt to get code signing up and running without endpoint security, just like, can we get a basic code sign and like flat package versus distribution package and that nonsense. And I think we can do that probably pretty easily. I feel like that just shouldn't take the three of us more than like an hour or something, or an hour to sync and then go forward. I don't know. That would be really great to get in. I'd love to get that in the next month. That would be amazing. So
sooner the better. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that maybe let's target June 1, and maybe this is going to get pushed to, July 1 or something if we don't do it. And probably the major, the thing that we really want to do is get to version 5. So like if we're pretty happy with all the code signing stuff and it's working, then we should cut a 5.0 and see what broke. That's kind of my feeling. I don't know. It feels like we're very close. I think Alessandro just has to fix one bug, click merge, and then we'll see what we need to keep fixing.
Going back to the milestone, if we want to fix the ARM build, Teddy has found a couple of issues that are not passing. So we may have to create an issue and put it into the milestone.
He's found ARM bugs. Wonderful.
I don't think it is a bug or a huge bug. I was able to run the test as a root user, and they were working fine. The thing that is failing right now is the test as a normal user.
Are the tests failing or are they not running?
I haven't checked yet.
Okay, because the last time I checked, they're probably not running actually, because I'm just clicking a bunch right now. Clicky, clicky, clicky. The last time I was paying attention, they were not running. Oh, where are you hiding? I'm sorry, I can't quickly find it inside this.
I was planning to check this out when I have some time.
Okay. So as a brief segue into the state of the ARM64 CI world, Teddy merged some stuff that should be running build and test on Osquery organization sourced code branches, e.g. mostly master. The build is working for that, but the workflow is currently skipping test runs. So I don't quite know why. It's, looks like it's basically conditionalized on whether it's rel with release or something, and I haven't dug too deeply into it. I am continuing to work with AWS on how to kind of get tests running in the PRs. For good or ill, I think that this week we're mostly concluding that using self-hosted runners is probably not really a good idea. Just kind of disappointing. So I think we're going to try and turn up an AWS code build, which is their CI environment, basically duplicate the build steps, which it shouldn't be too bad. Our build steps are mostly all in our CMake, not in our workflow docs. So we'll try that. That's the current plan there. And I don't really know beyond that what's going on with the ARM64 stuff. Make a bug, put it in a milestone.
Let me know if there is, if we can help out with the new workflow for that AWS thing. What's the name again? Code build?
Yeah, I don't think we need much right now. I got a POC working a little while ago, and the AWS threw a principal engineer at this problem, or two principal engineers at this problem. So they're sort of helping. They're SRE-ish people. They seem nice.
Nice.
I guess the other context here is that the Microsoft/GitHub runners do not really have good security controls or context around them. So we're just not real confident in opening them up to PRs. There's a bunch of GitHub issues around people being like, hey, we'd really love this. We're an open source project. How do we do this? And there's a lot of not answering. So it's clearly not a real priority to GitHub. Even though the Azure stuff actually has some like rudimentary code to support some of these use cases. And like there's a PR from a year ago from a GitHub staff person to fix some of it. So it's just this weird mess where like clearly it's not a priority to them. So kind of a bummer, but it's what it is. Yeah, sorry, that was a little bit of a digression. I guess agenda-wise, 480, 50. Alessandro, Charvel, when do you want to try and chat code signing? You want to like, or time that's good for you too?
I think around this time is usually okay. But
That's the same for me.
Cool.
Can we do it before Thursday? Because Thursday will probably want to update the endpoint security stuff.
I really don't want to bring the endpoint security stuff under that umbrella. I think we've got to get Alessandro's stuff merged and cut over the code signing stuff. I mean, we can kind of talk about it all together, but you know, I could meet tomorrow. I could meet Thursday at this time.
You guys?
Yeah, tomorrow works. Thursday works too.
I kind of want to wait till Alessandro merges that code. I don't know when. Like if you'll merge it today, let's meet tomorrow. Otherwise, you want to touch base on Thursday?
I've got to finish a couple of things, so maybe Thursday is better.
Okay. I'll try and I stuck a hold on my calendar. I'll try and send something to you or something, or you feel free to send something to me. But I think we can get through that real fast. Okay, should move on to the next agenda item. Anyone want to talk about 480 or 50? Okay, next up, PR 7048. Mike, security assurance doc. This is like, you want to create a security.md?
We have a security.md, but Teddy's request was that we document a lot of the things that are kind of strewn about in our principles and in our CII practice answers, because we answered a lot of these things already, and I did pull from that to put in some skeleton of bullet points. So in that pull request, it's not fleshed out, but the topics that I think we ought to address are in there. I just wanted to see if there were other things that maybe people often bring up. Usually the sysadmin thinking about deploying Osquery has some concerns or fears, and I'm sure that we've answered it before, but those are the kind of things that could be in this doc. And it could be a threat model just to make it very easy for us to point to for PRs, I guess. I don't know. It probably would be for adoption and for users.
I'll try and review this. I don't really understand what the goal is.
There's an example of one, but it's from this person who has like a PhD in exactly this. So they went really overboard. I don't think we should go as overboard as they did. So I scoped it to some topics that I think are useful they're of interest to someone who is considering Osquery but worried. How can we reassure them? So it's like an assurance, security assurance. Like, yeah, we thought of this. This is what we do.
I will try and absorb this. A chunk of the stuff coming out of the core infrastructure badge people really gives me pause. A lot of it feels like a tremendous amount of valueless make work.
Yeah, a lot of it is like, well, do you have one of these? Yes. All right, moving on. It doesn't really evaluate how good this thing is that you said you had.
we were snarking about this on Slack, right? But like one of these things is like, do you have at least a 1-year roadmap planned, right? And if you go and you look at the badges, if you look at the badges app itself, if you look at their roadmap is we're sustaining. We don't actually have one anymore, and like they gave themselves a passing on that. So there's a lot of like annoying make work. So I feel like I want to understand what the use case for this doc is, and if it's to describe what the overall security intent of Osquery is, and like, so if someone comes in and is like, wow, are you secure or insecure, right? Like how do you even start by saying, this is a many tens of thousands line C++ project? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think we should be honest about that. We'll probably say, well, I'm not thinking into like, how can we spin it? But we do things that mitigate that risk. We have, encouraged modern C++ practices. We have we have a minimal attack surface. We don't make connections to untrusted sources, et cetera, et cetera. Those things will be in the document so that when someone accuses us of being a dangerous agent that shouldn't be on their system, that we at least have the document just to say, like, well, we've thought about these things. If you have suggestions,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the state of the document is still early, and so I just want to know what to include, and that's all. I don't need I don't need there's nothing to read closely. It won't take long.
I'll try and review it.
Okay. Thanks.
I'll try and review the links and the intent is what I'll try and review.
Yeah, the example that this is based on is going to be overwhelming, and I don't want it to be like that inside.
I've read a lot of compliance docs.
Yeah, some people are just in that mindset.
It should really be like the security guarantee. To add to what Mike was saying, it should be really what security guarantees we are giving, basically, or other aspects of Osquery that makes it less dangerous than one may think, like the fact that we only have in the core, at least read-only tables. We do not change anything on the system. Things like this.
I mean, yes, but you say guarantees, and ultimately the only guarantee we have is in our software license.
Oh, this guarantee of no support.
Well,
and use at your own risk.
okay. Well, that's maybe not the guarantee as something unbreakable, but in the sense that what our direction, what intent, our attempts, etc. Yeah.
I just want to be a little bit careful about kind of that expectation, right? Because like what Collide might guarantee to customers and what Trail of Bit guarantees to customers is not at all the same as what Osquery guarantees to the world.
We don't really provide things with strong guarantees.
But I mean, it's there, right? People pay you and you provide services, and
yeah, we help them ensure their guarantees. Okay, well, I mean, documenting this is useful. Let's keep it small, and it'll get done, and we'll move on. I just think documenting it wouldn't hurt, and I don't think it's creating too much work. I'm volunteering to do the writing part.
I'll try and review
it. Yeah. Okay.
There are 2 more items on here. One of them is PR 7046, endpoint security-based process events, which needs a review.
Yeah, I pinged Teddy. It would be nice to have him review it. Alessandro, if you can help out review, or Seth, even you. I think I've addressed most of the issues, and we have kind of ironed out the CI with the upgrade to Catalina and how that plugs in. I'll try to write out a blurb about what's done and what the results look like of that. I've tested it extensively on all versions, flavors of macOS, Catalina, Big Sur, in a VM, none in a VM. Have it running through like 200,000 events at one point. So it's been, I think, fairly well tested, at least by like few people. Yeah, I think that just needs a review.
Okay, cool. I think this probably dovetails into this next item here.
Hello.
Osquery distributing as a .app bundle.
Hi.
Yeah, so for background, if a binary on macOS is codesigned and entitled and is making use of restricted entitlements like endpoint security or system extensions or network extensions, it needs a provisioning profile. The provisioning profile is what ties the certificate of the developer, the machines it can run at, and what entitles Apple has approved for that team of the developer to kind of bless it. So the one way is like embed the provisioning profile with the binary itself, and a lot of popular apps do that. Like 1Password, if you look at it, it has a provisioning profile. Google Chrome has a provisioning profile. But for the system to automatically pick up the provisioning profile without a user actually double-clicking and installing it, is to have the binary in an app bundle format. And I've tested this by creating an app bundle manually. All that requires is putting Osquery D in the proper .app/content/macOS directory and having an info.plist and package info file. And it will pick up the provisioning profile automatically. And the usual location of Osquery D is usually user local bin Osquery D. And I've tried symlinking it to the app bundle as well, and that works too. So I think if we can move this as a release, as a .app when the PKG installs, with the correct symlinks in place, I think it'll be transparent.
So I'm a little concerned. Not that so I don't disagree with anything, maybe. But I think that shifting how we install is a pretty major impact for a bunch of the users of Osquery. So I'm a little bit concerned about just kind of doing it, and I'm not sure how to approach that.
I think we'd have to test how it works to upgrade it, from a version where it existed at one path, overriding it to this one.
Upgrades is a good question, but I mean, like,
yeah,
what do we imagine? So if I think about macOS apps, right, a lot of them are just distributed as a .app stuck on a DMG, right, and then some of them are distributed as a PKG that drops files somewhere. And then a lot of the ones that have command line aliases seem to be a .app distributed in a DMG. And maybe the first time you run the .app, it's like, hey, do you want to install these command line things, right? So I feel like there's this higher level question of what does this look like?
So let's say, forget about this, like normal 4.7, you double click the PKG to install, right? You click next, 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 and it's done. All that does is places Osquery D into user local bin, has a symlink Osquery I in user local bin, has Osquery cuddle, has launchd script, and creates etc or /var, whatever, all the folder structures that you expect. It's kind of the same, except instead of /user local bin Osquery D, you have /user local bin osquery.app, because the location of this doesn't matter. It just needs this .app structure.
Right, but I mean, if we're going to do that, I feel like this opens a little bit of a question about what are end user expectations, right? And I feel like
so probably expect it to stay where it is, and that's what the symlink should do.
They probably expect all of the non-data things should live inside this bundle, right? So like RGS lenses and whatever we install should be. So
RGS lenses lives, no, it's not in .app. It's in var Osquery.
But I think that's wrong. If we move to a .app model, I think that's wrong. I think the .app should effectively be self-contained.
Well, we'd have to start signing everything then, right?
So we sign everything anyhow. We sign the PKG.
We don't,
But
but we don't sign the lenses.
We do sort of. We sign the PKG.
So when you sign a PKG,
So what does signing mean? So there are two kinds of signing we do. One of them is that we sign the binary. We sign the actual Mako binary, and the other one is we sign the PKG.
Yeah.
And that's not like whatever we shove in with the app, it kind of doesn't change it, right? App's basically a container format. So you still sign the binary and then you sign the .app. I think that would be how that works.
So a non-notarized PKG, you can sign some assets inside it and then sign the binary. I mean, the PKG. With a notarized PKG, you have to sign all of the assets inside and then sign the PKG.
Not text files. There's no signing semantics on a text file. You sign a library. It's like I don't think this changes anything. I think. But I think if we wanted to move to a .app, I think we should probably try and push everything into the .app. You could imagine a PKG that sticks the .app somewhere and also like creates the Osquery symlinks into the .app or something. But it would feel very weird to me to install a PKG that installed a .app and still like dropped configuration, sort of like shared the G-ish lenses into var. That just feels weird.
I think Santa works that way, as you described, Seth. So, no, I mean, the correct way is Santa app. The .app contains everything, then creates symlinks.
It's a common pattern I see for things that have command line tools. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but like drag this app into your applications folder and then like let it make some convenient symlinks if you want the command line tools for it. Stuff like that. I don't know. I guess this is what I mean by like, I think there's a big can of worms here, and
So what's the benefit, the hoped for or proposed benefit of moving to an app bundle?
It's an immediate requirement for endpoint security events because they don't work unless you have signed binary with the entitlement, and the entitlement has to be in the provisioning profile. And so provisioning profile is distributed in a certain way where it has to be in a bundle.
Gotcha.
Sort of a chain reaction of requirements stemming from this, very good source of events that we want to start using.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on board with going through the sort of minimum viable effort towards getting the entitlements, like Charvel's describing, just tossing Osquery D into the app bundle. And I think, I think that moving towards trying to get everything in the app bundle makes sense, but I wouldn't want to let that get in the way of like us shipping if there's not much practical difference to an end user.
Maybe. I'm not sure there's much downside either, though. Like at some level, we're just changing the paths that we do packaging with, and I guess builds. But
yeah, I agree with that as well. It doesn't seem to me like it would be much more effort. So I don't know. I've recently made PKGs with signed executables and not signed text files. I think Seb's right there. I don't think there's any way to even sign a text file besides by signing the enclosing PKG.
I only remember that the notarization fails if not everything is signed before putting them in.
It's binaries and libraries, not text files.
Generally, you have a resources folder inside the app bundle for like your extra stuff, localized strings or icons if you're shipping an icon. And I think the code resources folder, I think it's called resources folder, also needs a manifest. Usually, I'm not sure if it needs a manifest, but I've seen apps have a manifest.
I know that the resources are signed.
Yeah, resources are signed, so
somewhat we'll just have to play with it, honestly. I think a lot of the Mac apps are pulling in like they're shipping shared libraries and frameworks in these things, and all of the shared libraries have to be code signed because that's how Apple works.
Yes, but that's in the app bundle format. They have a specific place for that called libraries folder.
Frameworks,
so
maybe.
What's that?
Frameworks,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, frameworks. I think there are two, like libraries and frameworks. And resources, I think, for also needs to be signed. I'm not sure. I'll do more research on it.
So my expectation, this is expectations aren't always right, is that the general code signing tools can probably just do the right thing if we point them at a .app, right? Like we're not going to write our own code sign. We're going to have to like fight with the Apple code signing and package building tools to find the right command line arguments.
No, but we'll need to provide it correct paths and
I'm just sort of
Actually, I was wondering about something else. If we are going to edit files inside the bundle, like if we move the etc folder inside bundle and then we edit the configuration file.
That one doesn't go there. Etsy stays out.
Okay.
Etsy and VarDB don't go in the app bundle. Right, like think of the app bundle as being basically like user, right? Like if you thought of a Linux distribution, anything you would stick into user share or something should go into an app bundle, and then any like local database would go into var, and any configuration would go into Etsy. And I think that is true for macOS as well. They just shift the paths around. So my expectation would be that the osquery.app is a self-contained OS query install and could just be moved around, but that any local data is not inside that, like it's somewhere else. And I'm less sure how updates work inside a .app model. Like I don't know where Sparkle framework drops stuff. But we don't have to think about that.
Are the lenses going to be up inside the bundle?
I mean, Zach is saying maybe not at first.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if the AGS lenses are the thing that's going to keep us from doing this, like, let's just do what's easiest and come back for that later.
Yeah, I'm with Zach, and I'm not opposed to putting things in this app bundle. It's just, yeah, I am kind of anxious to put some of this in. I mean, the endpoint security stuff is over a year in the making,
I'd love to just get endpoint security merged and then evaluate whether we need to figure out .app stuff. Like I don't want to couple stuff together. Right? Like can we merge endpoint security and have it not break for end users? And then can we do the app bundle? Or like if we merge endpoint security, do we have to do the app bundle, or is the end user experience degraded?
For end user, it's disabled by default.
Then they don't.
But for the end user to use it, it'll have to be inside the app bundle unless they do their manual provisioning.
I'm fine with that then. Like I don't think we need an app bundle to merge it. Because like I don't want like the simple use case to degrade, and I'm okay with the idea that we merge something that has extra steps to be useful as we evolve and think about it. And said differently, right? Let's merge endpoint security, then let's evaluate app bundles once we sort of can play with that more easily.
So it won't work without the app bundle.
It will work. You just have to take manual steps to act the provisioning profile.
Which only the admin can do. So only you can do, basically.
Have we done that with distribution, though? We can't notarize anything if it's not.
Wait, I don't understand that.
So the app bundle is a prerequisite.
Sorry, what, Eric?
I don't believe you can push out a provisioning profile to authorize endpoint security unless the machine is enrolled in MDM. So people who are going to want to use endpoint security or do development or other things, and it's possible that my understanding is wrong, but we should at the very least provide a provisioning profile to go along with it to turn on the endpoint security bits if we're going to merge that so that people can test it.
Well, we've been working with endpoint security, and I think our understanding is pretty close to accurate. the endpoint security framework is gated by this entitlement that you have to have on your application, which means you have to be signed with a certificate holding that. Then after that code has been blessed by Apple and the notarization, the individual endpoints don't need any special configuration. But if we try to do something weird, like ship a bare CLI executable, then I think I don't think there's a way for that to be distribution signed. And that's what I was saying. Like, I think the app bundle is a prerequisite to.
Yeah. You can't. You need a .app bundle for it to be distribution signed.
Wow.
So
Okay. So people are gonna have to turn off bits of system integrity protection.
No.
No. If they want to use it without, like for development, if you wanted to actually like run this without us, if you wanted to get the benefit of endpoint security that we were putting in without us doing an app bundle, you would have to turn off bits of system integrity protection to do that testing. Because the only way that you can distribute, the only way that you can install an endpoint security extension is if it is distributed as an app that registers itself as providing a system extension.
Not exactly, because if you're not doing authorization events, if you're just doing notify events like we are, you don't need to be a system extension.
Oh, interesting.
Actually, you don't need to be a system extension in either case, but it's preferred because of the way you get loaded early and guarded better by the SIP. You get put under the SIP umbrella.
Yeah. And endpoint security is a special case of system extensions.
Right too. Yeah.
I don't know if we
don't want to get into the weeds. It just we will have to have that bundle figured out in this PR for endpoint security.
In this PR or simply before we cut a release?
Well, if you have a way to test it, I mean, if we do development signing and all of that, and it works, then we can, I guess, merge it in a sort of a disabled way. That's fine.
I'm just more in favor of getting stuff merged and not tying, big moving parts together, because these are all big moving parts. So the more we can do them as piecemeal.
Okay.
That's the only reason. Like, I don't want to say let's not do it or let's not do it before a release, but I don't know. I think Zach and Charvel have maybe convinced me that maybe we should just figure out how to shuffle the install stuff around enough that we can fake it and get something out the door. But I still would rather do it on a separate PR.
It does make sense that in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing there's no reason that we can't merge the PRs with the functionality. And then it just won't work if someone turns it on unless we get the app bundle thing sorted, right?
Yep.
You implied it.
It sounds like no one's opposed to that, so maybe we can move forward with that, put up a separate PR to address the other issue, and then that helps kind of address everyone's concerns. Mike?
Yeah. I just typed in that I think that we can do that.
Oh, okay, cool. Cool, okay. Then anything else y'all need from us to move forward on that?
From like the fleet side?
Oh no, from the, I don't know, people here on office hours and or steering committee or whatever.
Charvel wants code reviews.
Yes, code reviews.
Okay.
And I think maybe implicit as it before we could even talk about doing .app stuff, we probably need to get Alessandro's packaging code merged and the code signing stuff merged. Yeah. So all the more reason to decouple.
I know I tried to help, and I didn't successfully resolve the merge conflict because I'll be honest, I don't understand the changes in the variable names in the GitHub Actions file. So Teddy pointed to them, and I'm aware that those are the lines that are problematic, but I don't know what to do. So I left it again there. I need like an hour of Alessandro's time because I think he knows what belongs in those lines. It's like 5 lines, but it's a merge conflict because Linux packaging variables had changed.
Great. Sounds delightful.
Yeah.
Okay. I should probably get going. It's after 2.
Okay.
Sorry.
We got through the agenda.
Any final questions, comments? Thank you all for your time. And I know I'm sometimes argumentative, but I'm actually super happy to see the endpoint security stuff in the packaging code coming in. So
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you,
Thanks.
everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone. Bye.
Take
you.
care.